I'm glad to introduce you now Vanessa Lorenzo, a researcher and artist based in Lausanne. Currently working at Hybridoa, co-president of the Aquarium biohackerspace of Renan, member of Hacteria and Utopiana, her work speculates on the potential impact of biology, biotechnology, and hacking and the do-it-yourself culture on our future world. She will introduce us to her final master project, Camera Obscura et les artefacts de l'invisible, that she has already shown at Le Commun here in Geneva and at the Touch Me Art and Science Festival of Zagreb. Vanessa Lorenzo, a cheerful welcome.
Hello, everybody. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me and having me amongst this amazing constellation of people that I'm always so inspired by. Well, thank you for the introduction. It was quite long. So apart from my design practice, I'm also a biohacker. That means that I learned biology and scientific protocols to include them in my design practice. Here, I learned techniques to integrate the non-human into my design practice as an ethical, political obligation of thinking in the more than human worlds of the technoscience and nature cultures. During these 20 minutes, I'm going to talk about my vision of inhabiting the Anthropocene. We talked a lot about Anthropocene before, but for those who came a little bit late, it's all about the mess that we have done in our planet Earth. Like in Nausicaa, in the Valley of the Wind, we have to deal with new ecologies of relations, ecosystems, and toxic jungles. This requires new stuff to inhabit that jungle, new sorts of objects. The first one includes cyber moths. The second one, bacterial superpowers. Both works as an extension of our senses, a sort of collaboration in order to guess what this Anthropocene is all about. Sorry. Most interactions between human and the Earth are mediated through technological objects, often influenced by a dualism that separates nature from culture, human, non-human, thing, nothing. They filter out a wide range of data streamed from events that cut across spheres, the biosphere, lithosphere, semiosphere, technosphere. This partial approach haunts our perception and requires new modes of abstraction. How to think the object then? We need to flatten the hierarchical ontology between humans, animals, machines, and objects by including the other with its otherness into a media system with particular rhythms, codes, policies, and capacities. How to design without human scales, beyond human standards of beauty. When an intervening instrument, aka media, integrates the non-human people, it emphasizes their role to produce knowledge. We realize their agency, as Jane Bennett Environment Matter describes as the thing power. Not flower power or black power or girl power, but thing power. The curious ability of inanimate things to animate, to act, to produce effects, dramatic and subtle. Suddenly, things have political weight, sensing capabilities, and memory to project us far beyond the Anthropocene. In the beginning of the summer, I headed towards the Kilpisjärvi Biological Station, located within the Arctic Circle, a huge environmental data farm and scientific big brother, with an eye on the outer space, very sensitive to environmental changes. It is full of different critters, streaming out data from the heights of Sana down the fells upon the glassy lake of Kilpisjärvi. Critters, sensors, and algorithms are stitched together in a sort of bionic layer that connects technology, nature, and people. And there is a lot of moss as well. Could moss sense the Anthropocene? Mosses are tiny organisms with slow temporalities of growth, which can decipher the secrets of life on Earth. Sorry. They pioneered the land when glaciers stepped back, preparing the land to be refilled with a rich biodiversity. They act as a nexus between worlds, inhabiting extreme environments, water streams, and skyscrapers, hosting microbial life forms that are proved to resist in the outer space. Because they lack of root system, they are fed by everything carried by the wind, including pollutants. Since the 60s, they have been used as monitors of atmospheric deposition of heavy metals in the Nordic countries. Combined with the satellite, they serve to map their behavior after an ecological threat. Equally, since 2008, they are used to monitor air quality in the facades of European cities. Could moss sound out these changes? When we first touched a moss phone, a moss with a cybernetic add-on, we experienced a pleasant feeling of joy. Dipping our fingers into this humid pool of life, we enter part of our existence into an old kingdom of resistance. Our body interacts physically and emotionally with an entity that silently keeps track of this human mess. A metal thread would be carefully sewed into, creating a resisting body, a resistor that changes depending on density, humidity, and toxic particles trapped in the mini branches of the moss. When we caress it, the cyber moss varies its capacitance, altering the flow of electrons within the wires traveling towards the computer. The algorithm uses this data to modulate a characteristic noise of the area. This media ecology enables a dialogue that would be performed differently at every location. Moss under the polar caps of Siberia, mossy couch of Iceland, your local moss companion, moss in the immediacies of the nuclear reactor of Fukushima. There's supposed to be a video here. But technology doesn't want to work. But no worries. Back to the PDF. Okay. Environmental changes are often invisible. Some are trapped in complex data in scientific reports that nobody really understands. Some others are communicated below the radar of our cognition. The unseen remains unknown. Therefore, we need tools to unveil it, to map it. As the hilarious Dr. Jacobi from Twin Peaks claims, we cannot see it without a cosmic flashlight, but guess what? I've got one. Camera Oscura and the Artifacts of the Invisible is a DIY biohacked open source tool to make visible the invisible pollution. By merging electronic media with toxic artifacts, this interactive installation uses bacteria as non-human narrators of an ecological shift. I use non-human here, meaning that we humans failed telling liable stories about some of our damaged ecosystem. Each society deals with their problems differently. By shifting the narrator, we tell stories that are unspoken at a social or political level. We discharge a shirking society to speak up, confront the fact, and seek for alternative futures. Based at the riverside of Lonza at the end of the 20th century and moved to Visp since the beginning of the 21st century, the now global industrial giant has dumped between 15 and 60 tons of mercury along the Turtic Canal between 1930 and 1966. The polluted sediments were then dispersed in the region. Mercury, as a good escapist, it changes its form quickly. It slips away and melts, so it remains invisible. It is only seen when it makes a glitch in nature, a systemic flaw, or a disease. How to reveal the invisible around us? Biotechnology and biohacking could help here. In collaboration with Biodesign for the Real World and the community of Aquarium, we sampled and analyzed the soil and water in the area. We also learned how our gut bacteria could be given an extrasensorial superpower to detect the invisible. The augmented bacteria, or genetically modified, with a fluorescent protein, EGFP, that acts as indicator of mercury, a highly neurotoxic and endocrine disruptor for all the people, humans and non-humans. What happens when the super E. coli and the toxic artifact meet? None of both are supposed to be there or meant to cope with each other, so they produce a sort of sublime blink. Like in a camera oscura, a representation of what is happening outside can be seen by the public through a hole. The super coli will turn fluorescent in presence of different amounts of toxic matter, visualizing memories of the village in different periods. Then the camera turns the fluorescence into bits of black drops that travel along the tentacular tubes, injecting a proportional amount of black ink in a jar of fresh water. The more the people come and see what happens inside the camera oscura, the more evident the traces of hidden realities become. Again, there's supposed to be a video here. The Earth is shaped by the rhythms of progress. Almost all the interactions between humans and the Earth are mediated through technological objects. These artifacts capture the flux of culture and trade-offs between microbes, minerals, and humans across the Alps and its water flows. Like knitting cybernetic arrays with scientific protocols, a narrative thread is unveiled. Five water samples from 5 different periods are black-boxed within the camera oscura. These vials are mixed with genetically modified bacteria that react in presence of heavy metals.
The fluorescent feedback turns the evidence of pollution into bits of black drops. Traces of mercury travels through a tentacular system that brings visible anxieties of progress in the Rhone Valley. Since the 1930s, an ever-changing mercury, a glitch, and a silent artifact.
I am very thankful to Raphael Müller, my human companion, to help me taking this speculation further. Within the framework of the exhibition La Sémiosphère du Commun, we exposed two case studies, the one I told you before in Switzerland, and another one from Tulcea in Romania. Both similar sorts of toxic landscapes, alienated landscapes that we approached by collaborating with different artists, researchers, scientists, citizen scientists. We realized that we not only need research on the toxic materiality of the Anthropocene, but we also need to experience it. By appropriating scientific protocols and developing our own DIY open source tools, we also empower ourselves as citizens to explore the role of the artist/researcher as a social, collaborative, and political agent. We are considering toxic matters here as an active agent that links bodies, environments, and politics in an unprecedented way. This is a work in progress, though. Our strategy to inhabit the Anthropocene is to embrace our multiplicity and transdisciplinarity as citizen scientists/artists and researchers, so we can move forward as fast as possible from it. To create our own tools to allow our realities to exist, the ones in which we cohabitate with, alienated bodies, organisms, cyborgs, and hybrid critters. Like Nausicaa, we embrace the toxic jungle and we create tools to inhabit it and resist and collaborate in the ruins of capitalism. I am very thankful to all the people that made this happen and contributed to explore this path of speculating with hybrid media and new forms of collaboration, communication with the human and non-human. Sachiko and Robin from Biodesign for the Real World, Michael Pereira for lifting the tedious task of data processing, Daniel Sea for sounding it out, Rachel Araroff and the whole community of Aquarium, Mark Bernstein from the Makerspace in Renault, Anna Barsegian from Utopiana, Bacteria community, and also, why not, the E. coli from our gut, the fluorescent protein EGFP, and also, why not, the toxic artifacts and the moss. Thank you very much.